Abortion is a sensitive subject. The discussion around it is usually clouded with political and religious points of view, and that can lead to important information being lost. By definition, it's when a pregnancy is ended so that it doesn't result in the birth of a child.
As I think many women find out, or many people find out, is that my period was late, and so I got a pregnancy test and I took it, and it right away, like the two lines that come up happened, and I knew immediately what I wanted to do, and for me it was not to carry this pregnancy through.
In some places around the world, there are two ways to do this: a medical abortion and a surgical abortion. Within the first 9 to 10 weeks of pregnancy, a person can opt for a medical abortion, sometimes known as the abortion pill. A medical abortion usually involves taking two different types of medications: Mifepristone and Misoprostol. The first one, Mifepristone, blocks the hormone progesterone, which is needed to sustain a pregnancy. Without this hormone, the embryo or fetus detaches from the uterine lining. The second medication, Misoprostol, is taken within a few days of taking the first pill. This tablet can be taken in a few ways, including orally. This medication causes cramping and bleeding to empty the uterus and to end the pregnancy. This pain may feel similar to severe menstrual cramping. The bleeding lasts up to 2 weeks. It's usually heavy and painful for about 2 days. Then the heaviness decreases over time until the bleeding goes away completely.
Things that people have described that they prefer about a medical abortion is sometimes it feels to them a little bit more natural, like they're undergoing sort of a miscarriage. It can be done in the privacy of their own home, so it sometimes requires less intervention with the medical team, or fewer medical people involved in their care.
But if the individual is more than 9 weeks pregnant and wants an abortion, they will have to go the in-clinic route, also known as a surgical abortion. These can be done even in the second trimester of pregnancy, which is 14 to 23 weeks after the last period. In-clinic abortions are very safe when done by a trained medical professional. Before you get this procedure done, an exam is done and a lab test and maybe an ultrasound. Medical professionals will always have a conversation with the person making the decision to make sure they fully understand the choice being made.
I had to meet with psychological counseling to ensure that I was aware and mentally prepared for what I was going to go through, which, when I think back on it, is less stressful than perhaps being 22 and being faced with having to raise a child and go through pregnancy and childbirth.
If the decision is to go ahead with an abortion, pain medication is prescribed. Most clinics use a mix, including narcotics and often mild sedation. They will then use an instrument called a dilator to open the cervix. The most common type of in-clinic procedure is a vacuum aspiration, also called suction abortion. The doctor or healthcare provider empties the uterus using gentle suction with something that looks like a plastic straw. This will remove the tissue and end the pregnancy. For many people who have this done, the pain afterwards feels like strong period cramps. How early a person can get an abortion depends on where they go. Some clinics will do it as soon as the patient has a positive pregnancy test. It's best to try to get the procedure done as early as possible, as the risk of complications goes up the further along the pregnancy is. Later-term abortions, like ones done after 14 weeks, are rare. Now that we've gone over what an abortion is, let's talk about what an abortion isn't. Abortion myth number 1. People use abortion as a method of birth control.
I've heard these rumors, and I'm going to say that of all the patients I've ever seen and all the people I've ever known, I've never seen a situation like that at all.
If abortion was used as the primary method to prevent pregnancy, a typical person would have at least 2 or 3 pregnancies per year, 30 or more during a lifetime. Half of all women getting abortions report that contraception was used during the month they became pregnant.
I was on the pill, I still got pregnant, so I was still taking the precautions that were needed. And it just wasn't the right time for me.
This brings us to the second myth about abortions. Many women regret their abortions later.
When you hear the words regret, I mean, do you mean it was a tough decision, or you wish you hadn't done it? Wish you hadn't done it. I'm sure there's people out there, but the evidence doesn't support that that's a significant amount of people at all.
Actually, most women who have had an abortion feel that they made the right decision for themselves.
I'm not gutted about the procedure. I'm not distraught. I don't regret my decision at all. And I'm very thankful that I was able to access this need of mine.
For some people, abortions are exactly this, a need. That ties into our final myth. People have abortions for selfish or frivolous reasons. Most people base their decision to have an abortion on many factors, including not being ready to start or expand their family and/or lack of money.
I was young. I didn't have a degree. I was a summer student, so I had a summer student job. My spouse was young as well, and he wasn't finished his school either. And it just wasn't the right time. I was constantly told by teachers and those who were older than me that I would change my mind if it were my pregnancy. And being in that situation, it didn't change my mind at all. It was not a hard decision. I knew exactly what I was going to do, and I did it.
Ultimately, it's a big decision. And while there are different political and religious discussions around it, having a clear understanding of what abortion is and isn't is a good starting point in making that decision. If you're considering getting an abortion, there are many places that may provide you support, including family planning centers. Make sure that if you do go ahead with it, you do it at a safe and reliable facility.